work that Steve had written in customer development and so on. So to the question of whether customer development is marketing, well, it really depends on how you define marketing, and people can define it in 50 billion ways. But I see a lot of parallels in the world of traditional food marketing and what we see in the startup world today. What you see there is basically the failure rate of food-related products that get launched into supermarkets. There's around 35,000 supermarkets in this country today. And products in the food world are not only very expensive to launch, it's $2 to $15 million to get a product launched on a national level, very similar to what you hear in startups in many ways, although we're seeing a lot of that cost go down. But the failure rate traditionally between the 1940s and the 1980s was something like 80%. So very, very high failure rate, very similar to startups. And what was happening before that is that before World War II, the world of packaged goods and food marketing was all about mom and pop shops. You working somewhere where you saw your same customers day in, day out, and you knew exactly what they wanted because you were interacting with them every single day. So this idea of knowing your customer that we're talking about in customer development and interacting with people and finding out what they really need really was the way these people that were working in this world of food marketing back, before World War II would do every single day. But what happened after the war is that there was a maturation, a whole bunch of wonderful new technologies at the time, communication, transportation, television as a way of communicating at a mass level. And then a whole bunch of people started launching products on a mass level, try to get to the whole country at once. But the failure rate, that's when it started going to really, really high levels, because what you would have is people that were now disconnected from the customer. They did not know what the customer wanted, just the same because you were sitting somewhere and you were dealing with customers all over the country, and that's what you see as a failure rate that I was talking about before. Enter market research. Modern market research, as we know it today, started in the 1940s and 50s, all the way to the 60s. And for the first time, there were tools available that were, the maturation of statistics, the emergence of sociology as a true science, that people can understand how to interview somebody, how to extract information from somebody in a way that you could really know what they meant. And market research, for the first time, allowed me to sort of to scale what the mom and pop shop was doing up into a national basis. And it was a wonderful way of kind of reaching out and doing sort of this basic idea of customer development in a really, really big way, with big problems associated with it, though. Market research studies take weeks or months to execute. Even today, they take tens of thousands of dollars to go and do the same thing. It's an effective process, but a very low, very expensive, very time-consuming process. So as a result, only very large organizations develop and use market research in a consistent way, specifically the ones that have sort of this product management, like Procter & Gamble that you always hear about, that this is what they do. They sort of apply, they know your customer through the science of market research, and they can do so. So you would think that once I started doing this, the failure rate of product launches will drop dramatically. Well, it didn't. If you look at the number of products still launched in supermarkets today, the failure rate dropped a little bit. And what you're seeing there is the failure rate for the bottom 20,000 brands that launch products out there, all the mom and pops that are still trying to launch products into supermarkets, and their failure rate is actually something like 90%. But for those that use the effective market research methodologies that we're talking about, the failure rate is only like 25%. So if you're talking about the top 20 food brands in the country, they have really, really low failure rates because they're using a lot of the same methodology. So if we're looking for evidence, whether this idea of customer development, whether it works, whether this idea of talking to your customers, getting feedback, iterating from them, getting a sample from them, and knowing whether you can adjust your product, there's been a lot of companies out there that have been doing this for a very long period of time and doing